and welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to help you guys out. I'm going to explain to you 5 things that will make or break your jump rope progress. Now, a lot of people, when they look at my journey, when they look at my videos, people are often surprised that I started in lockdown in 2020. And when I share my earlier videos, people are always surprised how quickly I picked this up. Like, in all honesty, a lot of what you see me do, I learned a lot of that within the first 1 year. And obviously I've just been improving it over the last 3 years as well. But truly, you can learn stuff in jump rope really, really quickly. And especially so if you take on all of these things that I'm going to explain in this video. So let's get into it. The first thing you don't want to do when you start jump rope is overdo it. Overuse is the #1 cause of injury. If you do certain stretches, certain mobility work, if you do body weight exercises to strengthen your muscles and joints, they will make a difference. But actually, as a beginner, if you start doing all of those things whilst you're learning to jump rope, you're actually just adding to the stress that you're putting on your body. The best way if you're starting something new is to stick to that new thing, but just don't do it too much. And what I liken it to is blue tack and stretching blue tack. Let's say you want to turn this into a long piece of blue tack. You don't want it to be a ball. If you do this, then it's gonna snap. If you do it too fast, it's gonna snap. Whereas if you take your time and just very gradually, bit by bit, do little pulls, a little bit at a time, you're going to stretch that out without breaking it. And that's exactly the same thing with your body. If you go into your jump rope session and you do an hour, you are going to experience some sort of overuse injury, especially as a beginner when your form isn't where it needs to be. Inevitably, because you're not used to jumping efficiently, because you're not used to the movement and you've not been practicing, your version of jumping compared to someone like me is going to be much higher impact. So paired with the fact you're not used to jumping up and down for a certain period of time, that is going to put quite a stress on your body, and it's going to be a bit surprising for things like your knees, your ankles, your calves. So the important thing to do is to start. And I don't care what your fitness background is. I don't care if you can squat over 100 kilos. I don't care if you can run a marathon. If you're new to jump rope, start with 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes of jumping for your first session, and perhaps for your next couple as well. And then very gradually increase from there based on listening to your body. You know, if you start increasing and then actually you feel it a bit later, then that's a sign to not continue increasing until you've got used to doing that amount of jumping. And trust me, if you increase gradually like that, that is going to strengthen all of the muscles and all of the joints that you're using to jump. You don't need to do all these fancy other exercises or anything else, just jump. And the thing with jump rope is you don't realise you've done too much until it's too late. Unfortunately, your body in the moment will not tell you you've done too much necessarily. You won't feel it until later on. And by that point, you've already done the damage, and you will have to have a break until you don't feel any pain anymore. And if you have gone too far and you're experiencing an overuse injury, don't worry, it's likely with a bit of rest, 2 to 3 weeks, you will recover and be able to get back to it. Okay, now we've got that one out of the way, which is kind of probably the boring one, but the most important. The next thing that is a game changer is understanding that the energy to turn the rope comes from your elbows, not your wrists. It comes from elbow flexion, and it's quite difficult to get your head around this. The common thing is you should rotate your wrists when you're jumping, because you see a lot of people flailing their arms, and then people say, no, you want the movement to come from your wrists. But the thing is that actually, if you try and move your wrist like that, it's actually quite difficult to pick up speed with that. I think people kind of forget that a jump rope is actually a rotating object. It's rotating around a center point. You can actually get away because it's attached to you. You can apply the energy in one place and it will go around. You don't need to guide it over you. Like, where else is it going to go? If you flick a rope down, it's connected to your handles, so it's going to carry on going around you. It's not going to go anywhere, so you don't need to guide it over you for the full rotation. That's a common sort of misconception conception really. I actually have this because I'm going to explain it using this. This is an ab wheel, by the way, and I'm absolutely not going to be doing any core exercises with it in this video. I just needed something that rotates. I needed a wheel or something. With this, if you want to make the wheel turn, what is the way to make this spin as fast as possible? The way to do that is not to hold on to it and go like this. This is going to work. It's going to move the wheel for sure. But if you want to speed this up, that's quite difficult. You're relying on your hand speeding up to move it, and the wheel will only spin as fast as your hand can rotate. There's going to be a limit to that. Whereas if you go like this, then you're going to get that wheel spinning fast, and you're literally just applying the energy once, and it's a downward motion. My elbow is flexing. It is exactly the same thing, believe it or not, with jump rope. When the rope is coming over your head, you point your handles forward and you flick down. Flick the rope down and under you. Let your wrists be floppy. Like I always think, imagine like you wash your hands and then you're shaking water off them. That is how floppy you want your wrists. You don't want any kind of stiffness at all. Don't feel like you need to be guiding the rope. You don't. Just hold on to your handles loosely and flick down. If your wrists are loose, the rope will actually just take your hands like that. You'll feel them pull your hands with it, but you're not actually guiding on that part. When the rope's behind you, you're not guiding there. The problem, if you start guiding when the rope's behind you, you're actually going to move the center of mass. When I talk about center of mass, that's for a wheel, that's the center, that is the center point. For the rope going around you, that has a center point as well. And if you move that, it's going to have less chance of clearing your head. That's when you find you get smacked on the head by your rope. You literally have your elbows pointing behind you and point your handles forwards, and you're flicking down. On each flick, you return your hands to the point where you're going to flick down again, and then you flick down again. It's an up and down movement. It's not a round and round movement. And I understand why people want to do that, because you think that's what you need to do, but it's counterintuitive. It actually goes against physics, and it's going to stop your rope moving in a smooth way. And if you think about it, the biggest chance you're going to give your rope to clear your feet and your head is when the rope is directly pointing down, so your handles are directly pointing down. That's going to make the rope as long as possible at that point. And when the handles are pointing directly up to the sky, that's going to give you the best chance for it to clear your head. If you can get your head around that, honestly, it's going to absolutely change your game. The third thing that will make or break your jump rope progress is to practice tricks without jumping first. Now, all of the tricks that I teach in my app Fancy Feats, they all have these drills, and they're so important because if you actually want to put time into learning tricks, you're going to overdo it and get really, really tired if you're constantly trying to jump it. And actually, if you're learning something new, then your form is going to be off anyway. For example, if you're learning the crossover and you're going straight into that and attempting to jump a crossover, you're probably going to be crossing too high, so the rope is coming off the ground, so you're having to jump higher to clear it. Like, naturally, I don't think I've ever seen someone try a crossover for the first time and not jump really high off the ground. Like, it's just, I've never seen someone get it first time and actually look relaxed. And the point is that when you try things for the first time, you're gonna over-exaggerate movements, you're gonna over-exaggerate your jump, things are gonna be hard. It's not good use of time to be learning skills whilst jumping them. It's much better to drill things like crossovers, swings, the mic release as well. Drill them into toe catches to start with. The other reason that's going to up your game is because if you're able to catch the rope under your toes, then 100% you would have cleared that if you jumped. It's actually harder to get your hands in the right position for a toe catch than it is for a jump, because with a jump you could jump a bit higher to clear it, whereas with a toe catch you haven't got that option. So it forces you to be absolutely on point with your form so that when you then add the jumps, it's easy. It's just such an important thing. Even if you're watching this video now and you're like, well, I don't need that because I can do crossovers, I can do swings, I can do all that stuff anyway. Every now and then just drill them into your toe catches because it's going to improve it. And it's going to mean that you can literally do any footwork or anything with that skill because you can get it into a toe catch. As I mentioned, my app Fancy Feet, it's full of these sort of drills, and it's full of step-by-step drills that you can work on without busting your legs to get your skills down. And you can try it for free for 7 days, so you might as well. Going back to my first point on this video as well, if you are injured, you can drill things into toe catches. For me, when I had my injury at the start, I think it was a blessing in disguise because it forced me to be patient and work through those drills into toe catches. And then by the time I was better and jumping, it was easy. The fourth thing is rope type. Rope type matters. It matters a lot. Types of ropes you want to avoid as a beginner are wire ropes and ropes with mechanical handles. Wire ropes are great if you're proficient and you're looking to max out double unders or singles. You might be a competitive jump roper doing a speed step. Absolutely fine. Obviously, once you're proficient, that kind of rope is going to get you the most reps in a certain amount of time. But for learning and for actually drilling your skill, you do not want something that moves fast. You don't even understand yet, your body doesn't understand how to turn a rope and how to control that. So don't make it harder for yourself by picking up a wire rope. You're going to get whipped really bad and it's going to really, really hurt because wire ropes really, really hurt when they whip you. What you want is a rope that has a bit of feedback, that is going to get you as well turning the rope in the right way, as I mentioned earlier in this video. The other problem with wire ropes is they tend to have mechanical handles, and again, that's a great thing. Once you're proficient and you're really good at turning a normal rope, obviously you then get a wire rope, and doing that movement is going to give you even faster results on a wire rope. But if you're picking up a wire rope with mechanical handles and you don't have that movement nailed, you're just going to end up being lazy. Actually, you're going to end up probably pointing your handles out to the side, which is what I noticed with a lot of people who pick up wire ropes from at the start. I made the same mistake, and just jumping and kind of doing a little bit of a movement for the rope to go over you. Because it's their mechanical handles, it's just going to go over you on its own, and then you kind of train yourself to jump it at the right time. What you really want as a beginner is something like a beaded rope, which has a bit of weight to it, which doesn't have mechanical handles, so you're fully in control of turning the rope. So you're going to fully learn the movement, and also you're not going to mess up as much because the rope isn't going to be moving so fast that you can't control it. You're going to have control, and you'll get used to that control to the point where you can move on to PVC to really speed things up with your tricks and footwork. Or if you're looking to do double unders in CrossFit or competitive speed, then you can pick up your wire rope and you'll absolutely fly on that for repetition. If you are in the market for a new rope, whether it's beaded, PVC or wire, I'll pop the link in the description to all of my ropes. And moving on, the last one is also in relation to ropes. It's about rope length. I cannot stress enough the importance of rope length, but equally I cannot stress enough how difficult it is to find the length that's right for you. Unfortunately, it is something which requires a bit of trial and error, but one thing I'd say is the majority of beginners do tend to have their rope too long, and they have this thought process that the longer the rope is, the more room I'm going to have for error, etc, etc. And yes, there is truth in that, but the truth is a rope too long for you is gonna make it very difficult for you to replicate the form that I talked about earlier, about energy coming from elbows. Because if your energy is coming from the elbows, your hands are gonna be closer to your body, so you'll be able to afford to have a shorter rope, whereas a long rope is gonna force your hands out to the side. Naturally, when we jump rope, we will move our hands so that the rope is as taut as possible. As you get tired and stuff, you might change that, but generally speaking, if we feel like we have a long rope, if you're moving a long rope around you, you'll feel like you need to widen your hands, because if you have your hands too close to your body, there's going to be too much excess rope hitting the floor in front of you and it's going to bounce up. So to mitigate that, you're going to widen your hands, or Some people do, they have their hands higher up. And I know some people have that style and actually it works really well and that's fine. But for a lot of people, they widen their hands. And that is also gonna make it really, really difficult to replicate the form that I talked about earlier in this video. So the whole energy coming from your elbows and stuff like that and flicking down, you're actually just gonna end up trying to move this massive rope and keep it taut by going like this. The other thing about rope length ultimately is that the shorter the rope, the lighter it's going to be. So obviously the easier it's going to be to move it fast. And one thing I would say is that there are people out there who do actually have an unusually long rope, and I've seen competitive jump ropers with unusually long ropes and some really awesome like recreational jump ropers who get away with the long rope and can still move it really fast. My rope is quite short. I feel like I think if I step in it with one foot, it's up to my belly button. And I don't for 1 second think beginners should start with a really short rope like that. But I think online a lot of people say that it should be up to your shoulders, and that in my opinion is way too long. I think it's much better to start with your rope up to sort of just under your chest level. For women, that's up to like the bottom of your sports bra kind of thing. See how you go with that and then shorten your rope from there. But I recommend if you're a beginner that at the start you shorten it as quick as possible to a length that you're comfortable with. If you're a beginner and you start with like a long rope, you start learning all your skills with a long rope, inevitably at some stage you're going to get to a point where you want to get faster, you want to get more efficient, and it's going to be really hard to undo all that work you've done. So yeah, that's what I'd advise. So yeah, I think that just about covers everything. I've got very into this. When I teach jump rope and when I give beginners tips, you know, I'm always hanging out on my Facebook group. I don't know if any of you have seen it. Make sure you check it out if you haven't, because it's a really nice community, sharing jump rope progress videos, asking for tips. Everyone's so helpful, and you know, on there I'm often helping people who share their videos who are asking for tips on form. And to be honest, all of the things I've just talked about in this video are the main things that you need to get right to progress quickly in jump rope, in my opinion. So I hope it helped. Give this a thumbs up if it did. If you're looking to learn jump rope and all the tricks and footwork you see in my videos, then make sure you check out my app, Fancy Feet. It has tips that go way beyond what I've just explained in this video and really helpful visuals that will help you crack it all. As I said before, there's a 7-day trial, so you can just see if it's right for you, or even just download it for 7 days and absorb as much information as you can in 7 days, because to be honest, I feel like you could learn so much in just a week. And as I said before as well, ropes and stuff, they're all linked in the description. Make sure you subscribe. I'll be bringing you more videos like this, so you won't want to miss them. And I will see you in my next video. That's a wrap, innit?